see why. Gonna let them know it's the inspirational power hour.
You're listening to the Inspirational Power Hour podcast with your host, Chandra Wise. This is a weekly podcast where we celebrate the genre of gospel music by going behind the scenes and talking to the artists and songwriters and producers that create the music that we love. And every now and again, you'll hear stories that will uplift and inspire you, and today is no different. So today I'm talking to longtime friend, she's an actress turned author, Japonica Brown. Japonica is talking with us today about her very first book, I Have Something to Say. And boy, does she ever. All right, so listen, before we get into this week's conversation, make sure that you're following online. On Instagram, make sure to follow at Chandra Wise. On Twitter, at Chandra Wise. And on Facebook, make sure to like the Inspirational Power Hour fan page. All right, let's jump right into my conversation with Miss Japonica Brown.
It's the inspirational power hour.
Listen, I'm so very excited today. I have a dear friend of mine. She's hanging out with us. And guys, I'm even more excited to talk about the reason she's here. So first, guys, Miss Japonica Brown is hanging out with us. How are you?
Hi, everyone. Hello. I'm good.
The super talented writer, actress, motivational speaker, teacher. You know, you wear a lot of hats.
I do. I'm constantly working. I think I'm part Jamaican because I always got something to do.
Yeah, listen. And now we can add to that author.
Yes, very excited.
And the title of this book, I Have Something to Say.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so excited for people to get the book and read it. And I know that lots of people write books often. And, you know, we kind of always have a person that's having a new project out. But I feel like this book is a different book. It's a different take on some of the things that women go through and experience in our lives.
Yeah. So, first of all, Japonica, you know, we've been knowing each other for a minute.
Yeah.
But I want you to just kind of give people a little bit of your background, how you started and your passion. You are a creative person and you're so talented. So kind of tell people how you started writing, theater, all of that.
Okay, so I'm originally from Mobile, Alabama, but I went to Tougaloo College.
Yeah, Tougaloo,
shout out.
Tougaloo.
And I graduated and moved to Boston, Massachusetts, where I went to Brandeis University and got my Master's of Fine Arts in Acting. And while there, I was lucky enough to get a role on a show called Body of Proof on ABC.
Yes.
And I played the character Amy. And, you know, just with all those, the training at Brandeis and my experience being from Tougaloo in the South, I always had an eye for telling stories. My mom used to always say I talk too much. I would tell everybody everything, no matter where I was.
Yeah.
And so when I came back to Mississippi, that's what I really wanted to do. I worked in JPS briefly at Power APAC.
All right, Power APAC.
Performing Arts School, and I directed some shows, and that's when we met.
Yeah.
And started working at New Jerusalem and directing and writing shows and telling stories.
Yeah. And so, like I said, guys, incredibly talented writer, director, actress, and now author. I Have Something to Say. What do you have to say?
I have so much to say. You know, the book is covering my experience with mental health, depression, while being a Christian.
Yeah.
And I know that briefly there are some celebrities like, you know, Tasha Cobbs, Leonard, who spoke about that in her biopic, about how we can be effective in the ministry, but suffer silently.
Absolutely.
And not really take care of our minds and go and to see therapists and counselors. And just kind of figuring that the church will take care of everything. And I'm a firm believer that God is expansive enough to cover us in all areas, including our minds.
Yeah.
And so it talks about that journey of depression and low self-esteem and some traumatic experiences that I experienced on college campus. And so I tour around and I talk to young girls, especially the freshman females, about things that can happen when you're on a college campus away from your parents. And they teach us about going to the club, you know, you go with, you leave who you came with, you watch your drink, but what about the guy you take class with? Okay, and what about if he's loved and liked very much on campus and you feel like you don't have a voice? So I'm taking people through snapshot stories of my experiences and how God brought me all the way through all those things to a place of healing and reconciliation within myself.
Yeah. So we know that every person has a unique story, a unique journey, and a unique voice from their experiences. What is it that you want people to take away from this book?
I want people to take away from the book that everyone does, like you said, have a unique story, and to not be ashamed of their story. Maybe to find the courage needed to speak your truth through this book. I was very cautious not to tell people what to do. I remember when I first got single, like when I became single, I bought like 25 books, like how to be saved and single, or how to meet your husband, and everybody had the answer.
Right.
But the truth is, nobody truly has the answer for your journey. And so I didn't want to tell anybody what to do. I just wanted to be very transparent about my experiences, and maybe that they could get courage and bravery to be transparent about their experience by reading the book.
Right. All right, guys, again, we're talking to Miss Japonica Brown. Is this your first book?
This is my first book.
Your first book. I Have Something to Say, My Journey to Self-Discovery, Love, and Healing.
Yay.
Self-discovery. Let's talk about that a little bit, and what that really, how does one get to self-discovery?
Right. It's definitely a process, and I would veer to say it's ongoing until the end of your life. You're always rediscovering who you are.
Because we're always changing.
You're always evolving, or you at least should be.
Yeah.
Right? And so by the time I got out of college and at the end of a very long-term relationship, I was like stuck with, well, who am I? What do I like? I've put so many people ahead of me of what someone else wants or what someone else needs, that I had to take the time to spend time with me and figure out what it is that I liked. I traveled alone. I went out of the country by myself. It was, and I talk about that.
Isn't that glorious?
Oh, God. I know you talked about going to Europe.
Yeah.
No, it's something to experience, and don't be afraid. Don't allow other people's fears or inhibitions keep you from trying things. Because people will say, oh, no, don't do that. But they've never done it.
That people will absolutely project their limitations on you. And it's so crazy. This is one thing I say all the time. You have to get in a place and quiet all the outside noise so that you can hear from God and hear yourself.
Yes, absolutely. I practice meditation every day, and I try to envision my energy coming from my mind and my heart, and I try to bring it all the way in, because when we interact with people, we give of ourselves. When you're ministering on stage in front of people, you are pouring out. And so that goes back to the depression thing. Well, how do you feel yourself back in? You've given all to the audience, to the congregation, and they feel good. They go home and they're full.
Absolutely.
And then you got to be like, okay, so Monday to Saturday again, you feeling like low and empty. So self-discovery is just trying new things, pushing boundaries for yourself, stepping outside of your box. I'm so comfortable with me, girl. I can shop by myself, eat by myself. Don't tell nobody, but I talk to myself sometimes.
You got to have staff. I call them staff meetings. That's what I call them. Listen.
Look, you be asking like, okay, so guys, what we doing today?
What we doing today?
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you do that? Okay. Yes. And then, every now and again, somebody might catch me, and I'm like, well, what? You don't do it? But we have to take the time to figure out what it is for us that we want, and not be pushed by a time frame or a timetable by society.
Absolutely.
By time frame, I am behind. I'm 33 years old. I'm supposed to have all the kids and all the husband.
By society standards.
By society standards. And I talk about that. I think I say, I quote, I say, I didn't want to be the Christian woman with the questionable singleness. That aunt or that cousin or that niece that everyone looks at weird at the family reunion because she's still single. And so what does that look like for me? Self-discovery has been a full-on journey, and it's continuous.
And listen, guys, we want to encourage everybody out there, pick up a copy of this. This is I Have Something to Say. Where can they get this?
Okay, so you guys can get it on Amazon.com. Just type in I Have Something to Say. Type in my name, Japonica Brown, and it will show up. I also personally have copies, and I will be at the Lemurio Bookstore on October 5th at 2 o'clock doing book signings. They're selling the book there. So you can always go to Lemurio, ask them for a copy, and they'll have the book there, as well as Amazon.com.
And how can people follow you online and keep up with you, everything that you have going on?
Yes, so it's all the same. It's I Am Japonica on Instagram, on Facebook, and my website is I Am Japonica. And Japonica is spelled, for people who don't know.
Yes.
It's Japonica, Japonica.
All right, guys, you cannot forget that name, a beautiful name for a beautiful person. And we're so incredibly excited about it. Guys, pick it up. We know that this will be a blessing to you. I have something to say. And truly, we all have something to say.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times there's a quote that I read. It says, when we allow ourselves to live our truths, we subconsciously give other people the permission to do the same.
Absolutely. I love that quote.
And so because you have taken this step and done this, I know this will serve as an inspiration to another person out there. So definitely, guys, pick it up. I have something to say. My journey to self-discovery, love, and healing. Last but not least, Japonica, what is it that you want to say as we get ready to sign off? Any words that you want to leave with our listeners?
I guess I would tell people to stand in their truth and stand in their light and be unapologetically the owner of yourself, owner of your body, owner of your mind, because there's only one you, and so you have to be the best and the fiercest advocate for yourself.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming and hanging
guys.
out with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much for checking out my conversation with Japonica Brown. Make sure to check out her book, I Have Something to Say. All right, we want to continue to send all of our thoughts and prayers to everyone affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. I also want to continue to encourage everybody to stay at home and to practice social distancing, to self-quarantine, so that we can not only flatten the curve, but we can stop the spread of this disease. I have to say a very special thank you to all of our essential workers that are continuing to be out there on the front line so that we can stay at home and we can have what we need. We continue to send you all of our thoughts and all of our prayers. All right, guys, listen, stay focused and stay encouraged. Remember that we're blessed to be a blessing. Stay safe, and I'll see you next time.
It's the inspirational power.